Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And all the rage the last 24 hours has been these trials ongoing at the Minnesota Rokkr and the New York Subline. There's some leaks coming out as to what players might potentially be getting involved, but also the fact that the Subline's coaching staff and the players seemingly did not initiate this situation. Very much enjoying your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel, all that good stuff. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Of course, quite a break here between the end of Major 2, the start of the Prime Classic at the start of May, then straight into the Major 3 qualifiers, giving these teams some opportunity to make some sort of moves. Minnesota Rokkr obviously want to. They're doing some ongoing trials right now in many different situations. We'll dive into that here in a second, but New York Subline is seemingly following their lead. Maybe not because the team itself and the coaching staff feels uncomfortable with the roster, but just because maybe the management of the team just wants to go down this route. Whether this will work out for them is very doubtful, especially considering some of the players that they may well be trialing at the present time. Just wanted to mention this as well real quick, because the last few years, we've had some unbelievable rookies, right, coming into the scene. This is kind of the rookie class of 2022. Now, I think there's definitely some solid players in here, some players with some great potential that have done great things for their team so far this season. Capstel, the London guys, the Seattle guys, and I think in the future, like guys like Sib and Pred could be dominant players in the game, but so far this year hasn't really been the case. And you look at the rookie class of the last couple of years, when Shotzzy come into play, these type of guys, there's no one really on this list that stands out as going to be as a mainstay, right? But I suppose that's how it goes sometimes with the rookie classes. Sometimes rookies come in and just take over the scene and dominate things. Others, it takes them a little bit of time to warm up. So this year I think it's been quite interesting on that front. But if anything, it's been cool to see some resurgence of the veterans right after Slasher had a couple of difficult years. Scump, of course, playing some of his best Call of Duty he's ever played. Pretty cool, I think, to see the veterans still sticking around. Obviously, hasn't worked out for everyone, including Clayster. But well, he's been looking to get involved in some of these trials, which seemingly has been the case. This also just to mention real quick, because accuracy, decent start to the year for him. As references, no one has ever had more spots named on the map after them than accuracy. You aren't wrong. You really do claim some spots, right? Every single game, sometimes on many different maps, there's the spot called usually Top Lamar or something, because well, accuracy's first name is Lamar, of course, and he generally likes these particular power positions where you can set up there, hold a head glitch, and well, just lock down long range sight lines. That's always kind of been accuracy's speciality. He's done that a few times the last few years. There's one, of course, on Berlin, right, the Top Lamar at the back building, where if you get the bomb down at B, you can see the bomb fall all the way back there. That's known as Top Lamar, right? He just loves these type of situations. There was a few spots in previous games as well where he's managed to claim them, and I always think it's pretty cool as well. It must be pretty cool as a player when there's many spots every single year, or at least one every single year that's actually named after you as a player, just because you've locked that down and got so many good results from that particular moment. Of course, there's a thing in Counter-Strike as well where some particular spots are named after players. Top Lamar also may well go down in history. So a few days ago, we saw the Minnesota Rokkr doing those trials. We see Saint even last night says, stop seeking on Twitter and join the TeamSpeak. We have a scrim, right? So whether Clayster's actually getting a trial here, that well, maybe is unlikely, maybe it's possible. Like as he said, spare trial, please, even though the fact that Minnesota Rokkr have been doing this now for a couple of days. Whether it happens for New York, though, is a bit of a question, because he is there on the bench. They might trial him back in the starting team. They probably will, I guess, and even I think Zuma said they probably will, just because, Crim right now is on the bench, right, from at least the scrims they were doing yesterday, which, that, of course, wasn't quite a surprise. This I thought was quite funny from Brian Sage, right, word for word, bar for bar, the update that the team does from the Subline is exactly what the Minnesota Rokkr confirmed they were going to do just a couple of days ago. Now, of course, you do have to wonder, why is this going on? Does the team feel like they aren't good enough? Does the coaching staff feel like this set of players, despite their significant improvements on bringing in Paul X and Neptune K Mack, looked better in the team? They seem to be stepping in the right direction, won a couple of matches online, won 6 hard points in a row before they went to the major and got bodied by FaZe and then got reverse swept by Los Angeles Thieves. But, still the potential might be there within the current team of 4. Felt like Crimsix was a bit more comfortable, HyDra was still great, Paul X was doing his job, and Neptune was kind of getting back to a decent level of form, in addition to the great existing chemistry he has with his SMG duo in HyDra. So it felt like this team was probably going to work. Some said, okay, maybe one more change is required, but seemingly, as Crimsix goes on to say in this clip here in a second, obviously last night's Crim and HyDra, as we looked at, not scrimming in the starting team, which seems remarkable to me, because surely the idea is, maybe Crimsix isn't untouchable, right? There's no guarantees that Crimsix is absolutely untouchable and can never be gone from the team, but HyDra, you would think if anyone's an untouchable player, it's got to be HyDra. You have to keep him, effectively at all costs. So why would you ever scrim without HyDra, given surely the idea is of these trials to find a team that works around HyDra the best it possibly can, with or with not that be with Crimsix, I suppose. Now, so getting rid of HyDra, putting him on the bench for these scrims, seems very strange, and maybe this has not been led by the coaching staff, because yesterday we talked about the fact that Drazah, their now head coach, has a great relationship with HyDra over many years, so it's unlikely to be his decision. Seemingly it's not the players' decision either. They were maybe somewhat happy with this roster. Maybe it's actually the management staff of the organisation itself. As Crimsix says, it certainly wasn't their head coach that made this call.
Whose idea was it for you and Paco not to play because it's them? Let's just say this, not Javid. Just leave it right there.
So the other piece of the puzzle is then, what are these teams actually doing, right? What players are coming in and what are they trialing out? As Paul X says right here, me trying not to have a bad day trying to have me, right? So tweeting this despite the fact that seemingly he was playing in their matches or their scrims that they played up last night. This also was quite interesting. Kismet comes back with this in the reply, and he is one of the players seemingly getting involved in these trials. Of course, there might be many players that get trialed over the coming days. What's kind of interesting though, of course, is Havoc had a chance to join the subliners if he wanted to. He wanted to bring Kismet along, and now Kismet might be getting a chance here, and I imagine if New York give Kismet the offer, he's probably going to lap that up, right, as opposed to Havoc declining it because, you know, he preferred to be on the Challenger's team or whatever the drama was we talked about at the time. This then the clip that Zuma comes out with last night, he got kind of frustrated that these teams are doing the trials, but not, not revealing who they are trialing, which, you wouldn't necessarily expect them to reveal it, but, Zuma knows he's going to talk about it. So Rokkr is seemingly trialing Havoc. That's the player they want to go for in one of their SMG roles. My understanding is that the current thing they're trialing out is with Attach and MajorManiak, I believe, kind of staying as is, and then with Havoc coming in for one of their SMG players. So right now they're kind of trialing a pretty traditional situation where they have, 3 of the players remain, and then either they bring in Havoc for Standy or they bring in Havoc for Priestahh. I believe they've been trialing both of those over the last day or so to find what works best, and maybe if they find that Havoc works better in place of Priestahh or whatever they might decide to find, then they might do an additional trial with them, swapping MajorManiak out for someone, who knows, because they've got time to play around with these options. Now, subliners, seemingly, they're trialing Kismet. So Kismet in, I guess, for HyDra, and the rumour had it yesterday that I believe is accurate, the General was in for Crimsix. So I believe the squad they were practicing with yesterday was Neptune, Paul X, Kismet, and General. So, I don't know what they're thinking, to be perfectly honest. This is what Zuma has to say.
But then not actually saying who they're trialing. Like, that makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, that actually makes no sense, bro. Okay, so Kismet is going to be trialed out for New York. I know he's being trialed over there. It's going to be Kismet. And then on the other side, they're trying Havoc out at Minnesota. So, like, I don't understand why they're, like, keeping it a secret. Bro, you just announced that you're trialing players. You just announced that you're trialing teams.
So look, I don't think it's a good idea to get with the Crimsix or HyDra. I feel like those are the two guys you probably want to build around if you're this team. Like, you don't want to get rid of the greatest of all time. You've got him for a reason on your team, right? And then HyDra is your most talented player, like a potential dominant force of the future if he isn't already today, right? We saw the player cards the Lion Man came out with last night. So to me, Crim and HyDra have got to be the two guys you want to build around. If you're going to get rid of either of them, it does not, it does not seem like a particularly good idea, to be honest. Like, people talk about Crimsix and whatever, but I think he's been pretty good this year. I also think he adds a lot to a team in terms of, like, what he did with last year's Dallas Empire. They, of course, had a fair bit of talent, but he got some great results out of that team. And this year, I think he's probably been better individually than he was last year. So swapping Crim for General doesn't really make much sense. Like, I don't really know, but if HyDra and Crim actually are benched here for the long term, and this is their plan to get in Kismet and General, like, who knows, right? If this doesn't work out in practice, and their practice is worse than it was with Crim and HyDra, then you'd imagine maybe they just go back to this, right? But it might, might affect the internal team culture if they just decide to revert back to how it was with the current roster of 4, despite all this stuff going on. And it might create some friction there between Crim and the kind of coaching staff and the management, all this stuff. So not really sure what subliners as an organisation are thinking. I know that some people are seeing this and thinking, okay, just get these guys out of this organisation, because there've definitely been some weird things going on there, I suppose, the last couple of years or so. Also, there's some other questions like, okay, who else is trying out for this team? Even Ben Beans, I believe he's on the European Ultra Academy. So I imagine he's, maybe he's out in North America, who knows? But some people, well, Scott Seg here, he just dropped a nuke in New York trials. Somehow doubt this is the case, but, still, who knows how many people they're trying out, because Minnesota Rokkr seem to be going for a more conservative approach of, okay, let's try Havoc for one of our SMGs. Is that going to work? If that works, maybe let's try something else. But, New York might be doing everything right, because they've already swapped 2 players out. You'd think that maybe Crim and HyDra coming back in tonight. They might swap out a Paul X. So who knows what they're playing at, right? Like, I don't really trust New York as an organisation, especially if this isn't led or believed in to be a good idea by the coaching staff to actually do a good job of these trials. So yeah, definitely some concerns there, I thought. This also was coming out because as Boston Bridge kind of quote tweeted yesterday, the clip we looked at from Crimsix last night, when he said, okay, who's coming in? Santa Claus the Tooth Fairy, could be Hermione Granger. Venom actually tweets out Hermione Granger, right? So maybe Venom gets a trial. Who knows what they're thinking here? Like, New York could do anything. Now, whether it works out for them, that, seems rather doubtful, but, still, I just don't understand why they've got rid of Crimsix and HyDra at first attempt. I think the Havoc to Minnesota makes sense. Give him a go. I think, what they're doing over there seems to be pretty reasonable. The subliners one is very questionable to me, especially especially when your coaching staff or later Drill as the head coach is not going to be like, he's not going to be pushing for HyDra to be out of the team, right? So it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes over there. It can't be good for the internal team dynamics and team culture and any momentum that they did have if this is forced by the organization themselves, seeing what Minnesota did and thinking, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Let's force it on our team as well. Might, if anything, takes them a step backwards and make it even more difficult for them to make the progress that they absolutely need to make because they're right now 11th in the league, many points of even champs qualification, right? So either they're going to make some sort of move or they're going to realize this is an absolute fail. Either way, there's certainly going to be plenty to talk about. So this also, I guess I'll have to share this right at the end of the video just for you guys because it was very funny with them, HyDra say D's nerve on 19 in French, which, in the French accent sounds like something else, as Crimsix is finding very entertaining. Just did want to mention this as well, though, because the post-Major 2 MVP ladder has now been announced by Crone. The top 5 players this season remain the same. Shotzzy closing in, though, on Dashi and Cellium. Methods jumping up 4 spots. Slasher, Asim, HyDra replacing aBeZy, Illy, and Zero. Pretty interesting, right? That, aBeZy out of the top 10, as with Illy, as with Zero. But the other guys coming in, I guess, makes sense. HyDra, an interesting one. I don't know why he's up there. I guess he is incredibly valuable to his team, just because New York have had, no good results. I didn't even consider HyDra, to be honest, within the kind of MVP ladder for the season. It just depends, I guess, how people are thinking about it. Slasher in number 10. I didn't honestly put Slasher in, I think it was just on the cusp for me. When I voted in this one, I believe I might have put Capsule actually at number 10. HyDra gets number 9 on this list, then Asim. I definitely put Asim in mine. I think I might have actually had Asim up in 6 on my list, because he's been phenomenal for the Guerrillas, and such an integral part, I think, to their success this year in and out of games, to be honest. Afro at 7, I think I had Afro around about here. He's been great online. Of course, the results on land for this team haven't been spectacular. Pretty decent result at stage 1, but stage 2 definitely left an awful lot to be desired. Methods all the way up at number 6, so fair play on that front. I guess they've had great results as of late. I can't imagine that he's going to stay at this level that he's performing at right now, but honestly, if he does, then certainly fair play. And then the top 5 remain as is. Scump at number 5, we've got Simp at number 4, and then it goes to Shotzzy, of course, number 3, but very much closing in. If you look at the average rank here, 2.66, the average rank that people voted Shotzzy at, and then there's Cellium right above him at a 1.93, and then Dashi at a 1.86. So very close between Dashi, Cellium, Shotzzy, the top 3 MVP players in the running right now, but plenty I'm sure may well change as the season progresses. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hitting that like button tells your YouTube gods this is a good video, and as you should see it as well, and I'm growing the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.
Ask HyDra how to say 19 in French.
90. Oh, 19, 19.
You! Who said that? Mad Lad 5? Paco, say it again. Say it again.
19?
Yeah.
Or 90?
No, 19.
19.